Welcome to my YouTube channel. What if the change sitting quietly in your pocket right now could secretly be worth an astonishing $59 million, yet almost everyone spends it without giving it a second glance? That sounds impossible, but some coins have shocked the collecting world in ways nobody expected. Today's mystery centers on the 1991 P USA 5-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary nickel that has sparked endless discussions among collectors searching for the rarest examples ever discovered. Before you assume every 1991 P nickel is valuable, stay with me because the story behind this incredible coin is filled with surprising twists, hidden minting secrets, and collector discoveries that most people have never heard about. Some reports claim that the rarest known example could command as much as $59 million under extraordinary collector demand, making it one of the most talked about modern coins ever imagined. But don't go anywhere because later in this video I'll reveal two more astonishing 5-cent coins that collectors desperately search for, and the story behind them becomes even more unbelievable. So make sure you stay until the very end because every minute uncovers another clue that could completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket. The fascinating story of the 1991 P 5-cent coin begins at the Philadelphia Mint, where millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels rolled off powerful presses during a period when most Americans considered the nickel to be one of the least exciting coins in circulation. Every day these coins traveled through banks, grocery stores, vending machines, gas stations, restaurants, and cash registers across the country, blending into everyday life so perfectly that almost nobody bothered to inspect them closely. That ordinary appearance is exactly what makes the search so exciting because history has repeatedly shown that incredible treasures often hide inside the most common-looking coins. Collectors know that rarity is not always about age. Sometimes a modern coin can become dramatically more desirable than a century-old piece simply because of an unusual combination of minting circumstances, preservation, demand, and mysterious production anomalies. The 1991 P nickel has become the subject of countless conversations because experts have long believed that tiny differences in strike quality, die preparation, planchet condition, and microscopic details could separate an ordinary coin from an extraordinary rarity. Imagine receiving a handful of change after buying a cup of coffee decades ago, tossing those nickels into a glass jar, forgetting about them for years, and then discovering that one of them displays characteristics unlike nearly every other example ever found. That possibility is exactly what fuels the excitement of coin hunting around the world. One of the most discussed theories surrounding this legendary coin involves an exceptionally fresh pair of dies that produced unusually sharp details across Thomas Jefferson's portrait and Monticello on the reverse. When coin dies are brand new, every line can appear crisp and bold, creating coins with remarkable eye appeal. However, as those dies wear down through millions of strikes, the details gradually soften. If only a tiny number of coins were struck during that perfect window before the dies changed or deteriorated, collectors would naturally compete fiercely to own those exceptional survivors. Another fascinating possibility often discussed among enthusiasts is the existence of subtle double design elements that may only become visible under magnification. Imagine examining the lettering with a loupe and suddenly noticing slight separation in the inscriptions or tiny doubling around Jefferson's profile. Even the smallest anomaly can transform a seemingly ordinary nickel into an object of intense collector interest. Then there are discussions about die polishing lines, faint die cracks, unusual metal flow patterns, off-center strikes that escaped quality control, partial collar strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, rotated dies, and other minting irregularities that have fascinated collectors for generations. While many of these errors are minor, every once in a while an extraordinary combination appears that creates a coin unlike anything else produced during that year. Those are the discoveries collectors dream about making. Just imagine sitting at your kitchen table with a magnifying glass, sorting through an old family coin collection handed down by your grandparents. At first every nickel looks identical. Then suddenly one catches the light differently. Jefferson's hair appears unusually detailed. The lettering seems sharper. The surfaces have an almost mirror-like glow. Your heartbeat speeds up because you begin wondering whether you've stumbled upon something truly remarkable. That feeling of possibility keeps millions of collectors searching every single day. Stories circulate throughout the hobby about individuals who nearly spent rare coins before someone noticed unusual characteristics at the last second. Whether those stories become famous auction legends or remain family memories, they all reinforce one important lesson: never underestimate pocket change. The condition of a coin also plays a tremendous role in determining collector demand. A heavily worn nickel may tell the story of decades spent changing hands across America, but a flawless uncirculated example preserved from the moment it left the mint can appear almost frozen in time. Collectors often compete aggressively for coins showing full original mint luster, clean surfaces, strong strikes, and minimal contact marks because such pieces become increasingly difficult to locate as years pass. Every scratch, every nick, every fingerprint, and every moment of careless handling reduces the number of exceptional survivors available to future generations. That scarcity naturally increases competition whenever one of the finest examples appears for sale. Imagine an auction room filled with experienced collectors, each determined to secure what they believe could be the finest known 1991 P 5-cent coin. Bidding rises higher and higher as excitement spreads throughout the room. Telephone bidders join the competition. Online participants refuse to quit. The auctioneer barely has time to breathe before another bid arrives. Moments like these demonstrate how passion, rarity, and history combine to produce astonishing prices that surprise even longtime collectors. Although most nickels remain worth only their face value, extraordinary examples possessing remarkable characteristics have always inspired dreams of life-changing discoveries. Another intriguing aspect involves the possibility that small numbers of experimental planchets or improperly prepared blanks accidentally entered normal production. While such events are incredibly rare, minting history contains numerous examples of unexpected production mistakes becoming legendary collectibles decades later. These mysteries encourage collectors to inspect every detail, including weight, color, diameter, edge appearance, strike quality, and metallic composition. Even tiny variations can send researchers investigating a coin's origin for years. That's why experienced numismatists rarely dismiss any unusual specimen without careful examination. They understand that history occasionally hides remarkable surprises inside the most ordinary objects imaginable. So if you have a jar of old nickels sitting in a closet, a piggy bank collecting dust, or inherited coin album stored away in your attic, today might be the perfect day to take a closer look. Most people glance at a coin for less than a second before spending it, but collectors know that patience often uncovers remarkable stories hidden in plain sight. Every nickel has traveled through countless hands, witnessed countless moments, and survived countless opportunities to disappear forever. The few that remain in exceptional condition or display fascinating mint characteristics become silent witnesses to American history. And remember, We're only getting started because later in this journey another 5-cent coin will reveal an even more astonishing mystery that has collectors constantly checking their change, so don't leave yet because the next discovery may completely surprise you. As the legend of the 1991 P 5-cent coin continues inspiring collectors around the world, one lesson becomes impossible to ignore: extraordinary treasures rarely announce themselves. They hide quietly among ordinary coins, waiting for someone curious enough to notice what everyone else overlooks. The next coin in our journey takes that mystery to an entirely different level with another unbelievable collecting story that many people have never heard before, and trust me, if you thought this nickel was incredible, what comes next will leave you questioning every 5-cent coin you have ever owned. Next, 1984 5-cent USA coin. Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could be hiding one of the greatest mysteries in modern numismatics. At first glance, the 1984 USA 5-cent coin looks no different from thousands of other Jefferson Nickels that pass through cash registers, vending machines, and bank rolls across America, yet collectors have spent decades searching for one extraordinary example that has become the center of endless speculation. Some believe only a handful possess the unique characteristics that separate them from millions of ordinary nickels, and under extraordinary collector demand, stories have circulated of examples with an estimated value reaching an unbelievable $60 million. But here's the incredible part: you haven't even heard the biggest surprise waiting later in this video, because one final coin remains, and its story is even more unbelievable than this one, so stay with me until the very end because every detail you learn could completely change how you look at the loose change sitting around your home right now. The story of the 1984 5-cent coin begins during a busy period at the Philadelphia Mint when production lines operated continuously to satisfy the nation's need for circulating coinage. Millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels entered circulation that year, and to nearly everyone they looked perfectly ordinary. Children received them as lunch money, commuters dropped them into transit machines, shoppers carried them home in their pockets, and families tossed them into jars without giving them a second thought. Yet history has shown time and again that the most valuable coins often begin life looking exactly like every other coin around them. That is what makes the hunt so fascinating, because true rarity frequently hides beneath an ordinary appearance. Collectors examining the rarest known 1984 nickels often focus on incredibly small details that the average person would never notice. One theory suggests that a tiny group of coins may have been struck using exceptionally fresh dies, creating razor-sharp details in Jefferson's portrait and unusually crisp features on Monticello. Another possibility involves subtle doubling in parts of the inscriptions, so faint that only magnification reveals the unusual effect. Others discuss mysterious die polishing lines, microscopic die cracks, slightly rotated dies, faint off-center strikes, unusual planchet preparation, or tiny differences in metal flow that transformed an everyday nickel into something collectors eagerly pursue. None of these characteristics can be identified with a quick glance, which is exactly why experienced collectors spend hours studying even the smallest details under proper lighting. Imagine opening an old wooden coin box inherited from a grandparent who never threw away spare change. Inside are hundreds of nickels collected over decades. Most appear worn from years of circulation, but then one immediately stands out. Its surfaces shine with original mint luster. Jefferson's hair appears unusually bold. The lettering looks cleaner than the others. Suddenly what seemed like an ordinary afternoon becomes an unforgettable treasure hunt. That possibility is what keeps collectors searching through old rolls, estate collections, forgotten drawers, and dusty piggy banks every single day. Stories from the coin collecting community often describe remarkable discoveries made in the most unexpected places. Some enthusiasts have searched thousands of bank-wrapped rolls before finding a single coin worthy of closer inspection. Others discovered unusual nickels mixed into inherited collections that had remained untouched for decades. Every search carries the same excitement because nobody knows exactly where the next remarkable specimen might appear. The condition of a coin can dramatically influence collector interest as well. A heavily circulated nickel that spent decades changing hands tells a wonderful story of everyday American life, but a flawless example preserved since the day it left the mint becomes something entirely different. Collectors compete intensely for coins showing brilliant original surfaces, exceptional strike quality, minimal contact marks, and complete design details because those pieces become increasingly difficult to locate with every passing year. Time naturally reduces the number of pristine survivors, making the finest examples even more desirable. Imagine an elite auction where seasoned collectors from around the world gather to compete for what experts describe as one of the most extraordinary surviving 1984 5-cent coins. The room grows silent as bidding begins. One offer quickly becomes another. Telephone bidders refuse to back down. Online participants continue raising the price. Every new bid reflects not only the coin's rarity but also the passion collectors feel toward owning a truly exceptional piece of minting history. Whether the final number reaches astonishing heights or remains only an ambitious estimate, moments like these demonstrate why numismatics continues captivating people generation after generation. Another fascinating mystery surrounding this coin involves the possibility that only a tiny number escaped the mint with unusual production characteristics before quality control procedures corrected the issue. Throughout American minting history, unexpected manufacturing variations have occasionally created coins that later became legendary among collectors. Those stories inspire enthusiasts to inspect every detail, including weight, edge appearance, strike alignment, surface texture, and even the smallest imperfections that might distinguish one coin from millions of others. Experienced collectors know that extraordinary discoveries rarely announce themselves. Instead, they hide quietly among ordinary coins, waiting patiently for someone observant enough to recognize something different. So before you spend another handful of nickels or ignore that old jar sitting on a shelf, remember that remarkable finds often come from places nobody expects. The next time you receive change at a store, take an extra moment to look closely. Most people never will, and that simple habit could make all the difference. And don't forget, one final coin still remains in our journey, and collectors consider its story the most astonishing of them all. If you think the mystery surrounding the 1984 5-cent coin is incredible, wait until you hear about the next coin because its legend has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere, and its unbelievable tale provides the perfect grand finale to this incredible search for hidden treasures.